Ode to Autumn by John Keats. This poem has been written by John Keats, the English Romantic poet, on 19th of September 1819 and was published in the year 1820. He composed this ode after a walk near Winchester one autumnal evening. This is one of his last poetry, and this marks the end of his poetic career. John Keats begins this poem by describing autumn. So let's listen. Season of mist and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun. He starts this poem by saying that autumn is the season of mist. It is a season when there's lots of vapor in the atmosphere. And not only that, it is a season of fruitfulness. It is a season when everything ripens. And he also says that autumn is a very close friend of the maturing sun. Autumn and the sun go hand in hand. Why is this so? The reason is the sun is very important in the process of ripening fruits and vegetables. Without the sun, the process of ripening the vegetables and fruits is impossible. So, this is why John Keats says that autumn and the sun are very close friends, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatched eaves run. Here, conspiring means to plan something. Autumn and the sun, being very close friends, they conspire to do something. Okay, they plan to do something. What was it? They plan to load and bless or to fill and bless the vines that creep around the thatched roof with lots of fruits. To bend with apples the mossed cottage trees and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. So they also plan on filling all the apple trees that grows near the mossed cottage with apples and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core means they plan on ripening all the fruits that grows near the cottage with ripeness to the very core. To swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel. So the sun in autumn also plans on swelling the gourd. Here, gourd are types of vegetables where they belong to the family of pumpkin and squash. So they plan on ripening the gourd and plump the hazel shells with the sweet kernel. They also plan on ripening all the nuts and filling it with sweet kernel. To set budding more and still more, later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells. The sun in autumn not only helps the fruits and vegetables to ripen, they also help the flowers of summer to continue blooming during autumn. So the bees here have lots and lots of honey to collect. So their clammy cells or their sticky cells are overflowing with honey. In the second stanza, John Keats has compared autumn to a woman. He has personified autumn as a woman who does some farming activity. So let's read. Who had not seen thee oft amid thy store? So he begins this stanza by throwing a rhetoric question to his readers. What is a rhetoric question? A question with no answer, because the answer is obvious. Okay, so this means that people often see you. Here, thee refers to autumn. People often see thee sitting in your storehouse. Your store refers to the storehouse where they store grains. Since this is related to harvesting, okay, the store here refers to the storehouse where they store grains. Sometimes, whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor. So sometimes, when people go out to do some farming activity, They would often find here D refers to autumn, they would often find autumn sitting carelessly on a granary floor. Your granary is the place where threshing takes place, the threshing of the grains. Okay, so people would often find autumn sitting careless on a granary floor. Thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind, or on a half reaped furrow sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while they hook spares the next swath and all its twined flowers. Since autumn has been compared to a woman, imagine her having a long hair. So, whenever the winnowing activity takes place in the farm, her hair would be seen softly lifted. Here, winnowing means blowing air to sort the grain. Okay, so when they blow air on the grain to remove the chaff, the hair of autumn would be seen lifted. Not only this, autumn would also be seen soundly sleeping on the half reaped furrow. Here, furrow is a long trench made by a plow. So, she would be seen sleeping soundly in the middle of the activity. Now, why is she sleeping? Let's read on. Drowsed with the fume of poppies, while they hook spares the next swath and all its twined flowers. So she is asleep because of the drowsiness that she feels from the smell, from the fume of the poppies. Poppies are flowers that have drug effect. Okay, so she is drowsed by the fume of poppies. We can see that there is some poppy cultivation going on here. So as they clean the land, okay, she gets drowsy, so she falls asleep. And sometimes, like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook. So sometimes people would see autumn picking up grains like a gleaner. A gleaner is someone who picks up grains. So they would see her picking up grains, and once the basket is full, they would see her putting it on her head and crossing a brook steadily. Now, why is she careful or why is she steady while she crossed the brook? Maybe she's afraid that she might slip, or maybe she's afraid that the basket on her head might fall. So they would see her steadily crossing a stream. Or by a cider press, with patient look, thou watchest the last oozings hours by hours. So autumn is also seen as a person who patiently watches the oozing of the apple juice from the apple cider press for hours. From all that we have read, we can see that John Keats is mentioning about a farming activity that takes place before the age of machinery. The third stanza talks about the different types of music that is produced during autumn. Where are the songs of spring? Where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too. So the songs of spring is not found in the season of autumn, but Keats says that autumn has its own music and charm too. While barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue, then in a wailful choir the small nuts mourn among the river sallows, borne aloft or sinking as the light wind lifts or dies, and full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne, hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft the red breast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. In the evening during autumn, as the sun sets and creates a rosy color on the mountainside, mournful songs of nuts are heard in the sallows or willow trees by the river banks. The bleating of the lambs returning from the grassy hill or the mountainside is also heard, and the whistle of the redbreast is heard from the garden. The grasshoppers chirp and swallows twitter in the skies. So Keats is trying to tell autumn that you might not be uh, as beautiful as spring when it comes to music. But why do you have to worry? You have your music too. So, all these that we have mentioned are the beautiful music or sound that is produced during autumn. Ode to Autumn is one of the simplest odes written by Keats. There is nothing confusing or complex in this poem. It is very easy to understand, and the extraordinary feature of this poem lies in its ability to suggest, explore, and develop rich abundance of theme without ever disturbing its calm, gentle, and lovely description of autumn.